to another episode. I am your host, WIZE. I'm excited. I have a very special guest. He's an entrepreneur, he's an actor. I'm excited to have him on. So let's just get him on the show. Welcome to the show, Armando Leduc.
What up? What up?
What's
Oh
going
man,
on, man?
that intro is fantastic.
Oh, I could, that's one of my partner in crime, Cole Johnson. That's a Cole Johnson production. My man,
Amazing.
he's done some great intros for a lot of people, and I was blessed for him to just here, you're my brother. Here you go, I got you.
I love
And
it.
it was great. But all
Yeah,
right,
man.
okay, so let's get this started. So Armando, tell us a little something about you. We me and you chat a little bit before we came on air, but let people know a little something about yourself.
I change people's lives. That's what I do. I've been, they say the two most important days are the day you're born and then the day you figure out why you're born. And it wasn't up until about 6 months ago where I really figured out how I can create impact. And since then, I've just been out, trying to create as much impact and trying to change as many people's lives as I can.
Yeah. So your journey start you in the entertainment business as well, and I've seen some of your roles. You've had some great roles and stuff. What is that? Is that something you wanted to do prior to the entrepreneurship? Is acting something you've always wanted to do?
Acting for me started in 98. I got sort of suckered into it to audition for a play. I ended up getting the lead role. It was Grease. And that changed my life. And I was like, man, this was, I found my calling. I had never, up until that point, I was like, man, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was just kind of getting in trouble and had all this creative energy, but I didn't know where to put it. And when I found acting, I, just took to it like fish in water and started singing, did a bunch of musicals, sang in bands, and I was just doing performance. And then I moved to New Orleans in 2005 to pursue my career as an actor in film, and moved down here, experienced Hurricane Katrina. That was crazy. Stayed in the city and just helped rebuild. And then I moved to LA for a little bit, worked on, 40 different television and film projects as an actor, everything from Prison Break to Green Lantern to Queen Sugar and on down the line. And I started just kind of paying attention to what people were doing on set in terms of like directing and back, and lighting and stuff. And I'm like, man, I like that. I kind of want to do that. And so I started doing my own storytelling, produced a couple of movies, independent films. And then I got involved in like just corporate work where I was, creating commercials and music videos and acting reels and the whole nine. And then got into the content marketing game specifically and saw a few of my clients, man, go from, 6 figures to 8 figures in a 3-year period in a very quick amount of time. And I was part of the catalyst in that change. And I was like, man, how do I encapsulate this growth, right? And my mentor, who has the business 8-figure firm, was teaching attorneys how to scale their businesses from 6 figures to 8 figures. And so I'm like learning and I'm paying attention, and he's mentoring me himself. And I'm like, man, all right, I figured it out, put 2 and 2 together, read a lot of books, start, connecting the dots, creating epiphanies. And I'm like, all right, I see how I can really create impact. And we've been doing that, for the past 3 years. And that's sort of, I love acting, storytelling. I'm going to continue doing that, obviously. But I really want to, change people's lives in terms of them being able to share their stories.
And so Leduc Entertainment was produced because you started your own production company.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I feel where you're coming from, because once I started podcasting and I fell in love with it, I knew this is what I wanted to do, and what kind of content I wanted to put out, and what kind of impact I wanted. It was all about making an impact on people's lives. And so I wanted to be able to come on and have people come and speak to me and tell me their stories and what they've done to change their lives, and what they're doing to help impact other people's lives. And for me, it was being able to allow these people to share their stories and express what got them to where they're at. And so mentoring is very important in this business and anything you want to succeed at. And to be able to have someone mentor you and help you build what you're trying to build. What what are some of the key things your mentor taught you? Like, what are things that might
Taught me
be
a lot,
share? I'm
but
I'm sure you did.
consistency, I think being comfortable with doing boring stuff. People people want to chase shiny objects and they want to get distracted, and we live in a very distracted world. And if people could just understand that consistency over time will get you where you want to go, right? It's the boring, mundane discipline of doing something over and over and over again that will make you great. There's nothing different about, in my opinion, obviously, some people are like extremely talented, super
Yeah,
talented, right? And I mean, that's what they do.
that was the gift.
But
Yeah.
that's the gift. But people that are consistent and can do the work and just keep doing it and just incrementally grow on a daily basis, getting better and better and better at doing the same thing over and over again, and being comfortable with being boring and comfortable with the mundane, and understanding that if they just stick it out longer than everybody else, they will be successful. Now, if you're practicing the wrong thing over and over and over again, then that's a problem in itself. And that's why, mentorship is important to who you listen to, right? Because having the wrong mentor can save you years, and it can also cost you years. So always do your due diligence, always, pay attention, ask questions, and more importantly, watch what they do, not just do what they say.
Oh no, and I've been blessed. The intro that you mentioned, Cole, um, he's been doing this for years, and I've been doing it for a couple of years. But it's like he sees something in me, and he's like, "Yo," he's teaching me how to be a producer, basically. Like, I, he's helped me structure this show from where I started to where now it's a little bit more structured. He took me on this way and was like, "Yo, this is how you do it." He showed me, and I just looked. I learned. I looked from other productions that he do. I've been able to work with him on another show. He's the executive producer on, and I just learned, and I listened to when I had to listen, and then when it was my turn, I just thought back to what he was teaching me and what he was telling me, and it's helped me out so much that within the last year, my podcast has grown. It's grown from me having almost 8,000, 9,000 downloads in my first 2 years to where now I'm over 24,000
It's amazing.
in less than a year and a half.
Congrats, man.
Oh,
Those are good
but
numbers.
it's being like one of the things you said is being consistent, is
Mhm.
making sure that you're there every week. When you say you're gonna release the episode. When you say you're gonna do something, you have to be consistent with it. And
Yeah.
that's what we've been trying. I've been trying to do, is make sure that it's consistent, and you can see it in the growth from where I first started podcasting to where I'm at now. it's the growth is just ridiculous because I put in the work. I really make sure I use a lot of things that I don't know. I YouTube it.
Yeah, man. It's what you got to do.
Listen, I go YouTube. If I don't have the answer, I will look for the answer.
There you go.
And then my wife noticed how much I was loving and dedicating to creating my podcast and all this. You're like, all right, we're gonna let's start a business. Let's help you. This is what you want to do, and so she helped me launch the production company, and I've been able to produce a few shows here and there, and it's something that when I love this so much. It's not work to me. It's just me being able to show up and record and helping someone else grow their podcast and just being able to do this and have fun and I would do it for free. I am doing it for free. Like it's not monetized,
For sure, man.
but I love doing this.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the fact that we I discussed a situation with you earlier where shout out to Frederica Benson Bresson, sorry. Um where she, releasing an episode that I did recorded with her almost a year ago and having her need to hear that and read the positive stuff that I put about her. That's why I do it, man, to make that impact, to be able to if I touch one person's life, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
There you go. Got
So
it.
that's why
Got
when
it.
you
Got
said,
to create
I'm sorry.
impact.
Yeah, no, that's why when you said you're here to impact people's lives, it resonates with me. That's what I want to do. Is have an impact on someone's life that at that moment in time in her life, she needed to hear that. And I was like blessed. I was like, I was like, this is why. I'm like, if anything else, this is why I do it, is to be able to help anyone that needs it at that moment in time.
You never know who's going to listen, right? You never know who's going to be that person that gets something out of it that can change your whole life.
Yeah.
One piece of advice, one a saying at the right time could just change the whole game. You know, a piece of knowledge that you enact and you take advantage of can impact your entire life. Me getting off the bus and auditioning for that play changed my life. You know what I mean? So yeah, I 100%. And because you're creating all of the content, it is possible, because of the volume, the law of averages states that somebody's going to hear it and you're going to affect somebody's life. That's just the reality. So yeah, man, keep it going. It's looks well produced, and obviously by the numbers, it's definitely being listened to. So that's good too.
Oh no, I appreciate that. Again, you hit the net or right on the head when you said consistency. You have to be consistent with it. You have to, like, when I first started, I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anyone podcasting. First of all, I knew about podcasting. There was a few that I was listening to, but I didn't know anything about SEOs. Didn't know about thumbnails. Nothing. But I was like, I was like, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna do the research. I'm gonna find what platforms are what, and everybody ran to Anchor at that time, and oh, Anchor is free. And then when I did my research, you find out free isn't always the right answer. So it was like I got furloughed from I got furloughed from my job because of the pandemic, and so I started the podcast, and I had started a free account with Podbean a year earlier and forgot about it. And so when I decided to finally press record, I did my research again, and I went back to Podbean without remembering that I had created an account. And when it said this email is already being used, I was like, oh man. So I signed up and I paid for the years for subscription because I've been like I said, I've been furloughed from work and was getting extra money and I just decided to invest in what I was doing. I invested in a mic, I invested in a mixer, the Rodecaster Pro. I just started investing in this because once I started doing it, it was like, okay, when people started really truly listening, I was like, all right, people are giving me something very precious, which is their time. So I need to really start investing in myself and in the equipment that I'm having because I want to give them the best quality possible.
Yep.
I want to start learning everything that I need to learn to make sure that I'm delivering a great product, something that they deserve. Because when you're giving me your time, it's very precious. It's something they're never getting back. And then I realized this. And so I was like, I'm gonna try to do the best I can. I'm gonna learn what I can, make sure that I provide the best service that I can for them.
Yeah. Well, there you go, man. You got to figure it out. I'll tell you what, with the thought of being consistent, I
Yes.
think a plan and thinking about the end result is something that people kind of forget about. I think you have people that want to plan too much and they stop from executing, or they stop them. They're just paralyzed because of all of the decisions and wanting to be perfect. And then you have people that are just pulling triggers, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you have to have a nice mix of being able to pull the trigger and also doing enough research to make sure that you're putting out something that is of quality, right?
Mhm.
But picking the time to go, you know what, doesn't have to be perfect. We just got to roll, you know?
Yeah, no. There's moments that it's not perfect. There's been technical difficulties. There's been times where I haven't pressed record and we have a great conversation, didn't realize we weren't recording prior to me going live. But there'll be times that
In there.
yeah, there's times where the mute I'm talking and I hear myself, but I don't have the settings corrected. It's a whole bunch of things. Things happen, and you
Things
have to
happen.
laugh at those moments. I've started creating why I when I first started because I was also doing inspirational quotes and I would mess those up so much. And I was recording the mess ups. And one day I just said, you know what? Let me just release a couple of blooper reels. And people responded to it. And because it was funny. It was just
Right.
I enjoyed it so much. It was just being able to you have to be able to laugh and enjoy the mistakes and learn from them.
No doubt. Did you have a plan when you put this together, or you just knew you wanted to do podcasting?
I didn't really have a plan. I was originally I wanted to do a sports podcast with a friend of mine, and it didn't go through. And when I really started getting into it, it was March of 2020, and of course the pandemic. We had the George Floyd situation, and it was a way for me to vent my frustrations, not being at work, with everything that was going on, and so I started realizing like, okay, I have a voice. This is something I enjoy doing, but the topics I'm talking about, yeah, it's hot at the moment and all, but that's not what I wanted to focus on. It was just so much negativity. I didn't want to focus on that.
Right.
When I started interviewing people, it was more about focusing on the positive aspects of things. Yeah, they have a great story they might have gone through, and just the fact that they could come and talk about overcoming these obstacles, and that's what I wanted to do. So I started just interviewing people. I interviewed a few friends at first, and started connecting with people through Facebook, and then it just started okay building up. Like at first, a lot of people turned me away. Like, what's your numbers? Like, "Look," I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just starting out. I'm fresh. Yeah, nah, hit me up when you bigger, when you got a bigger audience." I'm like, all right. And then eventually the no's started turning to yes. And people it just started growing from there. I started connecting with different people. I started using services. And it's been a great, it's been a great 3 years, 3.5 years now. Like if you would have told me 4 years ago what I would be doing this, I'm like, I had no, well, maybe because I wanted to start the podcast, but be in the lane that I'm in now, I would have. Even though I've always been into self development. My first wife. she got me into reading books and listen and just listening to audio tapes and just wanting to improve myself.
Right.
And then after I lost her, it was just I was lost for a while, and it was just like one tragic event after another, and I was angry. Um, I was angry with God, angry with life, and then one day it just kind of like, bro, you're not in the, this is not what you're meant to do. This is not what you're here for. Like you need to change the way you're living, because it's not the right way. And so
Right.
I started just I got back in self-development. I got my security license in New York, so I was bouncing at clubs and all this stuff. And then I met my wife now, and she lived in Pennsylvania, so I ended up moving to Pennsylvania, got a job at a casino as a security, and then transferred over to the table games department the next year. And like I went from being angry and sleeping on people's couches and sleeping to being more secure, like finding love again and changing my life around. And now I get to really help people share their story and help impact other people's lives. And like I said, I didn't know what my purpose was until I started recording.
It's great. That's great.
So let's talk about you. So what made you want to become an entrepreneur? What made you want to start your business?
I think I've always been an entrepreneur, man. Ever since I was a kid, I first job was a paper boy delivering newspapers, and and I think I was always thinking about how to make money. And it was what my first business when I was 20 years old. I had a swing Latin and dance and ballroom studio in Augusta, Georgia that I owned. I learned how to dance off of a newspaper. They were like, no experience necessary. Learn how to teach ballroom dancing. I was like, all right. So I taught how to, I taught ladies that were older that wanted to learn how to dance, and taught them swing, tango, waltz, the whole nine. And at the time, the guy that I was working for, he was a mentor to me, but there wasn't alignment there, and I was already taking care of the business, but it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how things come full circle, because the guy, my friend that's working for me right now, who's my COO of my company, was the one that told me back in the day that I could open up my own business. Like, he's like, you could open up your own studio, man. And I was like, what? Yeah, I guess you're right. And off of his that one thing, right? You hear one thing. Sometimes you just need permission.
Yeah.
Got the one thing, and then I opened up the studio. And I sold it when I moved to New Orleans. And before I moved to New Orleans, I worked for my COO with another company called Best Lawyers of America. And so I worked there for a minute, and then I moved here. And then about 2 years ago, I bumped into him again in Georgia, and I was like, man, you should. And we'd been in touch, for years. He came to my wedding and stuff, and I was like, man, you gotta come work for me, man. Come get it into this as action. And he was like, all right. And it was a scary move, because it was the most I had ever paid someone to come and work for me.
Wow.
But I knew I needed to level up. I knew that I had become too comfortable. And that's, I think, another thing for growth is that you have to continuously put yourself out of your comfort zone in order to grow, because you can't grow if you're, if you're playing it safe, you're just not going to. You'll grow at a snail's pace. But if you really want to grow, if you really want to know who you are and what you're capable of, then step out of your comfort zone and do something that's going to scare you. And so, it was the decision that I made to bring him on that really changed the trajectory of my business. There's a book called Rocket Fuel. I recommend it. It's it's a relationship between the implementer and the visionary, right? And I'm the visionary for my business, but I'm not necessarily the integrator. I have a lot of great ideas, but having a good COO to help you integrate your ideas into a way that makes sense, into a way that's clear for your employees. And that's what he does for me. Is he, I have a vision. I see things from a 30,000-foot view. I can see the beginning and the end of an idea, right? And he can see all of the things that we need to do in between to make the end result the end result. So yeah, stepping out of your comfort zone, and there's another book called Who Not How, and it
Okay.
really is about who do you need in your organization to get where you want, instead of thinking about how to get there, right? I think people get too caught up with how and not necessarily with who. And people are amazing at the things that they're amazing at. So if you can find the people that are amazing at the things that you lack, you will have exponential growth in whatever it is that you want, right? Whatever endeavor you want to have. So it's really people that I surround myself with and the who's that help me create the impact that I want to make, because I know I can't do it all by myself.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. I've just networking with everybody that I've been networking with. Surrounding myself with people who who've done what I want to do. Um, People who are successful, who are experienced at this. It's like when you start putting out that energy and that vibe, you start attracting those people into your lives. You start like I needed to meet Cole when I met him because he's helped with my growth, and it's me, like you said, making myself uncomfortable and challenging myself, and like not wanting to hear like, no, you can't do this. I'm like, why can't I do it? Who are you to tell me? Or and especially, but most of the time, it's me that I'm fighting with. It's not someone else. It's me myself that I'm fighting with because I'm human. Sometimes you get that self doubt, but then sometimes it's great to have that person that they see that you struggling and they're willing to give you that little kick in the rear and be like, yo, step out of it.
Yeah.
You got too much greatness for this. So to have those relationships and build those relationships is priceless. I can't tell you how much he's taught me in just a year that I've known him, to the point where he is one of my best friends. We've built that kind of relationship where we can sit down for hours, have wonderful conversation. And that's something else I realize now, is that I don't have conversations unless they're meaningful for
Right.
both, for me, for you, whoever. And that's why I love having the guests that I do have on, because I'm learning in the process.
I have the same for my podcast, man. Same deal. It's
So
amazing.
actually tell us about your podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
It's called Spaghetti on the Wall.
Why
And
did you name it
so,
Spaghetti on the Wall?
because that's just how I've always lived my life. I've lived my life according to throwing spaghetti at the wall and nurturing what sticks, not necessarily just seeing what sticks. Because if something sticks, right? If we're trying a bunch of different things and we throw spaghetti at the wall and there's some things that stick, then pay attention to it, right? It's sticking for a reason. So let's nurture it, right? And so, success leaves clues. And so that's always been my mindset. It's always been my perspective. Is like, okay, there's signs all around. If you know what you want, things are going to show up in your life to help you get what you want, right? The universe is going to conspire to help you. And so it's kind of just a happy accident calling it Spaghetti on the Wall, and I'll tell you, it has been transformational not just in terms of what you can learn, but deepening relationships with people, creating referral networks. My income has grown as a result of having a podcast. My credibility, my authority, my trust, all of that has grown as a result of having a podcast. There's another book. It's called The Go Giver. I read a lot, but The Go Giver is all about, how can you come to the table by providing something first instead of thinking about how you can take first, right? So, and I think a podcast does that, right? You're giving a
Yeah.
platform to people that can express themselves, right? You're making them feel good by interviewing them, right? They get to express their expertise. You get to learn. You also learn from them. They learn
Yeah.
from you, right? And then it's content, right? It's a way to put content out, and you're building that social currency,
I know.
and these days social currency is worth a lot of money.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, it is. And you just a prime example is this influencer had created a riot in New York because he was giving away Xbox, whatever it was. And that just went to show you the power of influence. Like he had so many people come. He didn't think that many people were gonna show up.
Right.
And they went crazy, and that just goes to show you that the impact you can have on people's lives. You can have it in a positive way or a negative way. And I see that we've decided that we wanted to go that positive route where we want to impact people, trying to help them overcome whatever issues they have. Or again, if it's just being able to hear us discuss what we're discussing, to me, that's I love being able to do that. I love
Yeah.
being able to influence someone's life in a positive manner.
There's enough negativity out there. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So do you interview people, or is it just you talking?
I do. I interview people. Um, about marketing, about mindset, about leadership, entrepreneurship. So, that's the sort of messaging around it. But then I
Yeah,
also interview, actors and
yeah.
performers and, and singers and musicians. So
Mhm.
it's sort of spaghetti on the wall. It's all over the place.
I love the name, man. I get it now. Now that you explained it, I love the name.
Thanks.
Uh, and I've actually been able to interview a couple of celebrities, and I'm a big wrestling fan, and I got to interview a WWE Hall of Famer, Stevie Ray, and
Cool.
it was cool because, like I said, I'm a big wrestling fan, and then I'm also into self development. My first wife, she one of the first things we watched was the Secret, and read the book and all that. And last year I got to interview Bob Doyle, and it was I was like, oh man, and it was one of those moments where I get an email and they're like, Bob Doyle would like to be a guest on your show, and I'm like, my show, like really my show, and it was a great interview, and to just be able to speak to someone that I admired and get to pick his brain and just have a great conversation and be able to hold my own with talking to him. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is serious. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I got something here. I'm okay. Maybe I'm not that bad.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah, man. It's I love this, man. I wish everyone could experience being able to do something they love. But this is no, don't get it wrong. It took work. It was me
Takes
working
work.
at wanting to improve, not just, all right, I'm just gonna do it. Yeah, I
Right.
did it. That was the first step, was taking that leap and jumping into it. But then again, you after that, it's you got to work into. You have to be consistent. You have to do your research, learn more, and it was like when it's something you love to learn about, it's like, okay. It's fun, and you kind of retain it when you love when you love what you're doing.
Got to step out of your comfort zone.
So what projects you got? I know there's a strike going on. How is that actually? How is that affecting you?
It's not really affecting me at all because I have
Wow.
my production company. So I don't wait around for roles. Although I did just audition, which is why I have this mustache. I don't usually have a mustache.
It
Um,
looks good, man.
Thank you. I auditioned for a drill sergeant for a film.
Okay.
So um, I did a good job. So I think I might get it, but we'll see. It's an audition. But
So you said your production company, you go and you create projects for yourself, or
right.
projects for help people create projects that maybe other studios win or production companies might not think they're worthy. How do you decide what projects you're willing to work with?
At these days,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got to be these days. I can be picky,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah. 'Cause you got a
things that,
reputation. Yeah.
yeah, things that like filmy, things that, um, are thought provoking, things that are funny, things that are entertaining, you know, I don't need to do projects that I feel just blah about, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Cause I don't need the money. Um, but before, like, when you're just acting, you'll do whatever, right? And that's okay. I mean, you have to. It's one of the things that's part of paying your dues, right? Like you pay your dues doing, you know, things that you don't necessarily want to be doing. But these days, I'm working on a comedy. It's called Life on Bourbon. It's a story of some musicians that work on Bourbon Street, and they're a house band. They're a cover band. They don't want to be a cover band, but but living on bourbon, they make a lot of money as musicians, and so they're just kind of stuck, right? And they drink a lot, and it's substance abuse, and so it's comedic, but it's also dramatic. It's telling that story from the people that work on Bourbon Street, and I worked on Bourbon Street for like 8 years, so it's a circus. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's a crazy story that needs to be told. And so that's a project that I've been working on and developing for 10 years, actually.
Wow.
So to tell it right, right? Like I don't want to tell a story that's not authentic, right? Like it's got to be authentic. It's got to be the right story, and it's got to, you know, hit the right elements, and it's got to resonate, not just with people that live in New Orleans and work on Bourbon Street, but it's got to be a stories that can resonate worldwide. And those stories have to do with, things that people deal with: heartbreak, death, substance abuse, depression, anxiety, things like that. So I wanted to tell it through the lens of people that work on one of the most famous streets in the world. And so yeah, that's what I'm working on in development, and look to start shooting that at the beginning of the year.
Awesome. Awesome. Um. So with every, I guess it's great that I just want like because I don't really watch the news and I really don't know what I understand why the actors and writers are striking because the big time production companies and studios are making a lot of money, and actors aren't getting paid properly. They're not seeing any of that now, especially with streaming.
Yeah. I mean, the long of the short of it is the production companies are acting like they don't understand the concept of streaming and how that plays out monetarily. That's their defense. And we're like, no, that's BS, man. Y'all know. Do you know like how much these Netflix CEOs are making. I mean, it's insane. The
It's crazy.
Disney
And it's a day.
CEO.
We're talking about a day, like how much they make a day. It's something some of us aren't even making in a year. It's
Not even
crazy. So
close. Right.
it's crazy some of these numbers
Yeah.
that these CEOs are making.
So
And
something's got to give, and you just got to stay strong. And I, and they're going against actors who know this life of famine. You know what I mean? So they're trying to go up against like people that already know what it's like to be broke.
yeah,
So what are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're fighting against people that have that don't care. You know what I mean? About that. Like they care about the outcome. They don't care about the fight. Like they're like, yeah, come on. If you have nothing to lose, then you're gonna fight. So I think we can get the results that we want in negotiations as long as we can hold fast, and they think they can outlast us, and I don't think that they can.
listen, if they were smart to go your route, start your own production company.
And they will. And they will. There's companies out there that are acquiescing to the SAG contracts, and that's all we really want is for them to agree to the terms. I don't think that we're asking for anything astronomical, just equality.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's you, you deserve to get paid. Listen, these streaming services are charging an observant amount of money monthly to subscribers. So they're making money. And now every network has their own streaming company. It's not
Yeah,
like when we grew up, we had like 3, 4 channels. We didn't have all the craziness that
it's
there is
insane.
now.
It is insane.
And so it's just wrong that like you said, some of these CEOs is making ridiculous amount of money. And for what? For what? Like it just seems like they're just hoarding it and they don't want to share it with people who work hard, who deserve a piece of that pie. There's
Yep.
enough of it going around.
Yeah.
Just let's look at this. Just look at those salaries. There's enough of it to go around. And
100,000%.
yeah. But Armando, thank you so much, man. This has been great. But now is the time where you get to plug away and you get to let people know where they can find you, where they can see what movies, anything, whatever you want to plug away, man. It's you. This is all you.
Oh man, just look me up. It's Armando Leduc. You can Google me. You'll find LeducEntertainment.com. That's our website. Yeah, and you can look me up on IMDb if you want to follow me in terms of my acting career. If we can help you with your business, LeducEntertainment.com. We'll help you. Like I said, we're into changing people's lives. So if you need help with with some marketing and some direction in that department, we can help you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Also, you help other business. You help smaller business owners in marketing and
Correct.
strategy and all that.
That's it. Yeah. So
Awesome, man. That's
we
awesome.
do fractional CMO stuff where we'll act as your chief marketing officers. So if we can help you with strategy and we can also help you implement. So
Okay. So all my small business owners out there, if you need some help with your strategy and implementing it, definitely go check out my man Armando. He definitely knows what he's talking about, man. This has been a great conversation. I greatly appreciate you being on the show, brother, man. Thank you very
thank
much.
you. Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, the pleasure's mine, man. This has been great. Thank you. But don't leave just yet. Me and you're gonna chat a little bit off the air. But again, thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother.
You got it.
All right. So let's give a little shout out to people in the chat. What's going on, Jude? How you doing? Jude says hi to me and Armando. I don't know who you are, Facebook user. I am well. Armando's doing well. And good testimony. Thank you. We greatly appreciate you coming by and showing some support. So let me get done with this. Let me give a shout out to the BS3 network. You can catch us there every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central Time. You can catch us on the Stuck in My Mind YouTube channel, the Real Wise TV YouTube channel. Big shout out to my Real Wise fam, Poppy J, uh, Brandy J, love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina, love you and appreciate you, baby. Big shout out to our guest, Armando Leduc, for coming through and sharing his story. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.